Ladies and gentlemen, we are back again, and today we have got a banger. And believe me when I say that this is a banger, drop a like right now, because I know that you're gonna have to, because you are gonna want to, because I have got another iceberg. Yet again, you guys love this series, I love doing it too, and today we are going into the darkest football conspiracies iceberg, one that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and this is going to be quite a wide range of conspiracies. You know how it is when we do these icebergs, we start off with some light-hearted pieces, and the further down, the darker you go, and the more sinister they get. And at the bottom, there is some strange conspiracies out there when it comes to the beautiful sport of football. So comment down below, what conspiracies do you believe in the most? Which ones do you think are actually true? And also feel free and subscribe to the channel. I believe by the time you see this, we should be almost at 340,000 subscribers. I believe we've gained 4,000 subs in the last 5 days, which is insane. And also in my last 9 videos, 8 of them has also hit 100,000 views, which again, insane. So let's get straight into it, boys. Massive shout out to the patrons of the channel. These guys go the extra mile to support me and what I do here, so massive love to everyone on the screen right now. And of course, thank you for the love on my own design company, mazzoladesigns.co.uk. Link is down below if you're interested. And sponsor time. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very proud to announce that I have partnered with Sorare. What is Sorare? Well, I'm sure that you've seen it all over the world when you're watching Premier League games. I'm sure that you've seen it on the ad boards thinking, what is that? Well, Sorare is quite simple. It is a fantasy football game where you guys can go buy, sell, and trade your favorite players across your favorite leagues all around the world. And just like fantasy football, you can use these cards in free-to-play or competitive leagues to compete against your friends or the community. And with these cards, you could compete in weekly free-to-play competitions where you could gain rewards across every week across the entire season. So here we go, we're on Sorare now, and at the top link of the description, you guys can go and join the Horizon Union League. My partnership, Horizon, has partnered with Sorare to give you guys some incredible rewards to compete each match week in the Premier League for the rest of the season. And those rewards are quite big, including 2 Premier League matchday tickets for the top 3. I've already entered into Premier League Amateur, which you can go and join free to play, absolutely nothing on the line, just play it like any other fantasy game and have a bit of fun with it. But for the semi-pro, I've got my team here, which I've got my limited in Harry Kane, which is an absolute banger. I'm very proud of it. Ollie Watkins in fantastic form. Rodrigo is fantastic for the points because he gets on the ball so much. Basically, unlike other fantasy games that are purely reliant on just goals and assists, this is much more detailed, that there's a large variety of points that you can collect from different types of players that makes players that are CDMs that are useless in other games completely vital. So don't forget, I'll leave a link at the top of the description. Go and join my Sorare Horizon Union League because we got some great rewards for you guys. So join me in Horizon, and I'm very proud to have Sorare as a partner of the channel too. I'll see you guys on there. The tip of the iceberg. Now, as a disclaimer, these are conspiracies that are not serious by any means. Clearly, as you could tell by just the amount of them they are. These are many fan-suggested conspiracies from my YouTube or my Twitter. So, just to give a highlight, I don't believe these are all real, if any. But still fun nonetheless. Aguero. The conspiracy that the 2011-2012 famous, iconic Sergio Aguero goal was rigged and QPR let Manchester City win the title on the final day. This belief comes from the fact that the QPR players were being told by their staff around 5 minutes before the game ended that their battle for relegation against Bolton Wanderers was over. Full time came at Stoke City Stadium when Stoke and Bolton drew 2-2 on the final day, meaning that QPR knew that they had nothing to play for as they were still fighting for survival in the relegation dogfight. Due to the assignment and the belief of what was happening on the final day, people believe that they purposely let Aguero go and dropped their heads to let them win the Premier League, meaning that Manchester United has one less Premier League title due to QPR purposely downing tools. Do you believe in this conspiracy? Keane. Moise Keane is an Italian striker that's had quite an interesting career, and the belief is that he plays for Everton, Juventus and PSG all at the same time. I've got nothing more to really add to this. Chiellini and Bonucci. The conspiracy that Chiellini and Bonucci are actually the same person, and alongside that have both been 30 years old plus since 2008. This is one that I completely back. They are, without a shadow of a doubt, the same person. And if you want to also add in there, you can add Barzagli in that combination too. Neymar. A very popular one, big up to FNG, that the conspiracy is that he purposely fakes injuries around the same time of the year to be at his sister's birthday. This is something that has gained a lot of traction in recent years, as it is a consistent theme that around early March time he's always injured without fail, and people believe that this is for one reason only, and that he is always at his sister's birthday, and he has potentially a strange relationship with her, but I believe over in Brazil they show affection to the family members differently. Immobile. The belief that no one has ever seen Ciro Immobile, one of the two. No one has ever seen Immobile score a professional goal in his career. They just give him 20 goals on his tally and move on, because they know that people will believe it. This is stupid. However, I have actually never seen him score a goal, so it could be true. Villarreal. This is one that I completely believe in, and that is Villarreal only has a home kit and has never played in an away kit in their entire history. If you can remember a time that Villarreal has not played in a kit that isn't yellow, then you are, my friend, a fucking liar. The only team in Spain that I know has a yellow kit that would have to force them to change is Las Palmas. So I'm sure that game they did have an away kit. I'm not going to Google that. I'm just going to believe that they played with bibs on for that game instead. Leicester 2016. The conspiracy that teams purposely downed tools and lowered their standards of playing against Leicester City in that famous Premier League 2015-16 winning season, that they wanted them to win the Premier League. And the likes of Man City and Tottenham, they didn't want to win the Premier League due to their frustrations towards the top six at the time. People to this day still cannot believe that Leicester won the Premier League with their current squad. So the only way for it to make sense to them is if teams purposely let them win games, which I don't believe is true, but we could keep thinking that. The old firm between Rangers and Celtic happens once every month. I don't need to explain any further. El Clasico. The conspiracy that El Clasico happens once every month. I also don't need to explain further. 2022 World Cup. A recent and very popular conspiracy is that FIFA or Qatar or whoever they believe can be controlling it rigged the 2022 FIFA World Cup for Lionel Messi to force him to be the winner and to change football history forever, making the Qatar World Cup forever ingrained in football history. That would be better for tourism, etc., etc., and for people to forget the countless issues and conspiracies that people had with the event in the first place. Lionel Messi was given 5 penalties throughout the entire tournament, which is quite high, and this came at some very important times in some big games, and of course especially in the World Cup final and key games in the group stage when they were at risk of being knocked out. No one really believes this, I don't think, unless if you are a Cristiano Ronaldo fan. Paris Saint-Germain. The conspiracy that PSG has only ever played at night and has never played during the day once in their entire history. This does have some limited truth to it. Of course, they have played at daytime before. However, I believe in recent years, especially since they signed Neymar, and especially now in Messi, they now always play at night due to it being easier for South American fans, Brazilians, Argentinians to actually watch the games due to the time zones. PSG typically does have the last game of the day, so this does have limited truth to it. Manchester United. The conspiracy that Manchester United only ever plays at Old Trafford. Again, stupid, but it does feel that way sometimes. Morata. The very popular conspiracy theory that Alvaro Morata is a money laundering scheme between the likes of Chelsea, Atletico Madrid and Juventus. The amount of times that he keeps going back and forth for quite a rather large sum of money, around 30, 35, 40 mil. The fee that he's going for is quite consistent a lot of the time, and just to explain his transfer moves in the last couple of years, it goes as follows. Real Madrid to Juventus, Juventus to Real Madrid to Chelsea, Chelsea to Atletico Madrid, Atletico Madrid to Chelsea, Chelsea to Atletico Madrid, Atletico Madrid to Juventus, Juventus to Atletico Madrid. I completely believe that Morata is a money laundering scheme. There is no other way to explain it other than the obvious explanation that he is just a decent backup striker. But I still am going to purposely ignore that. Norwich Fulham. The conspiracy that Norwich v Fulham has never happened in football history. This is popular due to the fact that usually when Fulham gets relegated from Premier League, Norwich gets promoted from the Championship, and when Norwich gets relegated from Premier League, Fulham gets promoted, and it has been like this for quite a few years, about over half a decade. Eder. The theory that Eder, the goal scorer in the Euro 2016 final for Portugal to win them the Euro, has only ever scored one goal in his career, and it was that goal in the final, and has been seen nowhere ever since. Mario Götze. Similar to Eder, that ever since the 2014 World Cup final, Mario Götze has never scored a goal since. 9 years ago. James Ward-Prowse. The conspiracy that James Ward-Prowse has never scored a single goal that is not from a set piece in his entire career. This one could be actually true. San Marino. The conspiracy that San Marino is not a country, has never been a country, and there is no proof that it is a country, and has been created artificially to give players in Europe a perfect opportunity to stat pad and to boost up their goal scoring charts to look better compared to other competitions. I don't know what to say about this, other than the fact that I still actually haven't seen much proof that San Marino does exist, so it could be true. Bielsa. The theory that Bielsa could actually speak English, he just couldn't be bothered. Thomas Muller. Thomas Muller has been 32 years old since 2010. Spurs. The last one of this completely mad tier that most of these are nonsense other than maybe 3. This one is the most believable of them all, is that Daniel Levy is employed from the Premier League to create a social experiment to find out how much pain and suffering can one fan base suffer through before completely falling apart and leaving. To create a team that is just about good enough to actually compete and win silverware, but purposely sabotage at all times when it is possible. The data collected from the suffering Spurs fans can be seen from other clubs across the world to find out just how bad can it get before your fans actually give up on you. This is potentially the most believable one because there's no other way to explain how they still haven't won anything for about a decade and a half. And there you go, that is the end of the tip of the iceberg. Tell me which one do you actually somewhat believe in, and let's get into some actual more serious conspiracies going into the surface. Paul the Octopus. Paul the Octopus was a famous gimmick back in the 2010 South Africa World Cup and was a very simple concept. It was an aquarium in Western Germany that, at the start of the World Cup, had a little gimmick where they had 2 boxes. and each having a separate nation's flag. They put food in each of the boxes, and Paul the Octopus decides which one to eat from first. And the first box with their nation's flag on it, that would be the team that will go on and win the game. Throughout the 2010 World Cup, he predicted 8 games and got all 8 games correct. This included each of Germany's group stage games, where he picked Germany each time to win, and then he predicted Germany to beat Argentina, England, but for the semi-finals he predicted Spain to beat Germany, and Spain of course went on to beat Germany. He predicted Germany to beat Uruguay in the 3rd place playoff, and in the final between Netherlands and Spain, he again predicted Spain. So what is the conspiracy? Well, this all came from Jiang Zhao, who is a director and created a thriller titled Who Killed Paul the Octopus? Theory that Paul the Octopus actually was dead for the last 3 months, and was 60 to 70% sure that he died in July and was secretly replaced by his keepers to keep the gimmick going. When being asked why do they believe this, she added, "Octopuses all look the same. It is impossible to tell the difference." I don't need to really explain it anymore. Russia doping 2018. Now, this conspiracy does have some semi-truth to it already that you may already believe is confirmed, but technically isn't. Back in the 2018 Russia World Cup, Russia went all the way to the quarterfinals and had a marvellous tournament, knocking out Spain. However, some of the performances, especially later in the game, looked a bit strange, as players who ran already an incredible amount was still sprinting at full speed all the way into extra time. This was when WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, asked questions to Russia to provide data of any drug tests that was taken throughout the tournament. And from this investigation, 3 judges anonymously found the Russian Anti-Doping Agency non-compliant with the Global Anti-Doping Code and its failure to provide drug test data upon request, meaning that they will not be represented in the Winter or Summer Olympic Games or the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. So even though they have been punished, it is not because they've been found guilty, but because they were not able to provide the correct data. So this does have some decent truth to it already, hence why I put this quite high up, but it technically has not been confirmed. 1966 World Cup fixed. A very, very popular conspiracy, and this all came from the former FIFA president, João Havelange, who was a former president that was in office from 1974 until 1998. He made the claim that the 1966 World Cup was fixed alongside the 1974 World Cup. In 2008, spoke out saying that it was planned for the host countries, England and Germany, to win. Havelange, who is Brazilian, of course also added that Brazil was hard done by this, and at the time they were the best in the world that won the 1962 and 1970 World Cup. His proof of why this was rigged came from only one thing, that British referees was picked for the 1966 World Cup for the large chunk of it, picked by the FIFA predecessor who was also English in Sir Stanley Roose. This did add a little bit more believability when of course the goal in the actual 1966 World Cup final, when Jeff Hurst's shot was given as a goal, claiming that it went over the line. Many believe that it did not go over the line, and proof that it was indeed rigged and that the tournament was rigged for the host nation to win. UEFA draws. This one could be somewhat believable, and that is the famous hot and cold balls UEFA draw rigged theory. The reason why this came about was back in 2016 when Sepp Blatter claimed that the UEFA fixed their draws by using hot and cold balls. Sweden beat Denmark 2004. In 2004, Sweden played against Denmark in the final group games, and before the game began, they knew that if they both drew 2-2, that would be the only result to ensure that both nations progressed to the next round at Italy's expense. Dialogue between Italian fans and journalists was claiming that both nations purposely played for a 2-2 draw. As a 89th minute equaliser for Sweden from Mattias Johnson, people believed that Denmark purposely let them score to ensure that they would both go through and to help Scandinavian teams out, I guess. The Denmark manager Morten Olsen was accused of playing to purposely get a draw. That he responds, "That's ridiculous and we're honest people." Gerrard missed penalty. Back when Roy Hodgson was manager of Liverpool, things were not going well at the club, and in a match between Blackburn Rovers and Liverpool were losing 3-1, and Steven Gerrard got given a penalty. And the man is very well known for taking these and putting it in the back of the net very consistently. So when the time came that he shot and it skied over the bar in a very unlike Steven Gerrard fashion, the conspiracies followed. Times were not too good at Liverpool at the time of the game. Liverpool were just 4 points clear of the relegation zone in January 2011. So when Steven Gerrard got the penalty and missed it, people believe that he purposely missed to get Roy Hodgson sacked. Do you think Gerrard missed on purpose to get him sacked? You tell me down below. Uri Geller mind control. At Euro 96, England v Scotland took place in a famous 2-0 win for England. That Scotland had a penalty when 1-0 down, and Gary McAllister stepped up, missing the penalty. McAllister to this day believes that the ball moved when he took the penalty, and the second night he hit it, the ball moved, causing him to sky it. This came from the fact that Uri Geller, who was an Israeli illusionist and sidekick, famously hovered above Wembley Stadium in a helicopter on that day. McAllister claimed that as the ball moved, that Geller must have used his mind control powers to move the ball a fraction of an inch just as he pulled the trigger, causing him to miss the penalty. Do you believe this? Chelsea v Barca 2009. One of the most famous refereeing displays and controversies in recent football history. Many calling it the biggest disgrace in football. Famously at the end of the game when Didier Drogba called it a disgrace in a famous outburst. Many claimed that the referee at the time, who was called Tom Henning of Rebo, a Norwegian referee, people believe that he could have given at least 3 penalties to Chelsea, but he did not. Back in 2019, the referee admits to errors in the Chelsea game, with the most contentious being a Dani Alves foul on Florent Malouda in the penalty area, which was resulted to a free kick rather than a spot kick. People believe that Barcelona paid off UEFA to allow them to go through to the UEFA Champions League final. Do you believe that this was a conspiracy or just errors by the referee? Aaron Ramsey curse. One of the most famous conspiracies that I've known growing up is the Aaron Ramsey curse. This is the famous curse that when Aaron Ramsey scores a goal, a famous celeb passes away only days afterwards. The deaths caused by Aaron Ramsey seem to be between 3 days after the goal, and 21 people have been claimed by Aaron Ramsey allegedly. This includes Andreas Montez, Osama bin Laden, Steve Jobs, Gaddafi, Whitney Houston, Paul Walker, and Robin Williams, with many more. Aaron Ramsey scored 80 goals during his career, and only 20 goals seem to have some sort of link. A newspaper called El Mundo about his beliefs about this conspiracy, he said that it is a stupid rumour and that he does not find it funny in the slightest. The body. South Korea 2002. The 2002 World Cup will always be remembered for 2 things. Brazil's famous Ronaldinho, Rivaldo and Ronaldo trio, and the referees, thanks to the golden goal rule and South Korea. The most famous came between Spain and South Korea, when 2 controversial disallowed Spanish goals, which Ivan Helguera referred to as a robbery, and the Spanish press brandishing the officials as thieves of dreams, as South Korea knocked out Spain and Italy throughout the tournament, reaching the semi-finals, however being knocked out by Germany right at the end. The referee, the Ecuadorian referee, Byron Moreno, allowed a number of what many saw as clear fouls to go for the Koreans by the Italians. The manner of the Spanish goals and why they were disallowed was interesting to say the least, and in the Italian game, sending Totti off for diving, and Italian Tomasi had a goal wrongly ruled for offside. Many things went in South Korea's way, and many accused and believed FIFA for fixing the World Cup for South Korea to have a journey all the way to the semi-final. This is one that I actually semi-believe in, because watching back in these games, it was astonishing the amount of errors there were. Iran v Bahrain 2002. Iran was on the verge of qualifying for the 2002 FIFA World Cup and just needed a win against a mediocre Bahrain side to secure that qualifying spot. However, in this game, a poor Iran barely even had a shot and slumped to a 1-0 defeat, leading them to go into the playoffs and being knocked out by the Republic of Ireland. After being knocked out, a storm broke, with journalists alleging that the team had been ordered to take it easy by the Iranian government, claiming that the government of Iran believes it undesirable for a large number of youths to congregate on the streets of Tehran, which occurred during the last World Cup as Iran beat the US. Not wanting history to repeat itself again, the conspiracy comes that they wanted them to purposely not make it to the World Cup so that this does not happen again. Bobby Moore, 1970. In the 1970 World Cup, Bobby Moore was arrested by the Colombian Secret Service. He was being accused of stealing an emerald bracelet from the Hotel Jewelers in Colombia. He was placed under house arrest for 4 days until the release was secured by pressure from the current Prime Minister. There was absolutely no evidence that he did steal anything, and 2 years later, leaked documents suggested that it was a deliberate sting by the Colombian police. At the time, England was the defending World Cup champions, and this was a conspiracy that they purposely arrested their best player under no evidence to destabilize the English squad. This is something that you could maybe partially believe in. Messi secret calls to Syria. Without a shadow of a doubt, the most incredible conspiracy I have ever seen in my life. The conspiracy that Lionel Messi and the Barcelona team, when playing against Real Madrid, was sending secret signals to Syria's gun-smuggling rebels during the game. This was when Messi, Andres Iniesta and Pedro scored a goal in a manner that was actually the best route to smuggle arms into the country. The route of where they moved on the pitch was accurate to where they should move when it comes to Syrian geography. Many claim that this was an elaborate hoax, and that others claim that it was government propaganda. People believing that this claim actually never happened. I don't even know what to believe with this one. Conspiration 58. I had this in my first iceberg video, so I don't need to go into too much, but I will go over it briefly. In 2002, a film was created called Conspiration 58, and was a claim that the World Cup in Sweden in 1958 did not actually take place and did not happen in Sweden. Due to buildings in the background behind the stadiums and the current sun position that did not accurately relate to what it should be in Swedish summertime, they believe that it took place in LA and not in Scandinavia, claiming that photos of boots and player shadows did not accurately show where the sun should be at the time. However, at the end of this documentary, the credits rolled and it was claimed that the entire documentary was a hoax, an attempt to explore the pitfalls of history revisionism. At the time, Johan Lofstedts was frustrated of people denying the Holocaust and was showcasing how stupid it can be to look back on history and to claim things did not happen when it really did, and he created this fake documentary and fake conspiracy to show how easy people can believe in ridiculous things. However, despite openly saying that, people still believe that the World Cup in 1958 still never happen in Sweden. Ronaldo 1998. Again, I said this in recent Iceberg, so I will not go into too much depth. However, I will go through it briefly. Back in the 1998 World Cup final between Brazil and France, Ronaldo fell ill and had a seizure on the day of the match, and when people expected him to be missing the game and was initially removed from the Brazilian squad, shortly after that release he was put into the squad, and many people believed that Nike forced the Brazilian national team to play R9 Ronaldo in that match, as R9 Ronaldo was the poster boy for not only Nike, not only Brazil, but for football in general at that time. Argentina versus Peru 1978. When Argentina beat Peru 6-0 to ensure that they qualify through to the next round of the World Cup, people believed that things were a bit dodgy. Argentina was in the same group as Brazil, Poland and Peru. Peru were already knocked out of the World Cup, however first place had advanced to the final and Brazil had an advance to the third place playoff. Both were on the same points, however goal difference would be the main decider. Argentina needed to win by at least 4 goals to qualify to the next round. Argentina had to beat Peru by 4 goals or more to go through to the final. Well, how can it be a conspiracy when they both played at the same time? Well, they didn't. FIFA ordered Brazil to play their game against Poland first, and then Argentina then played against Peru, meaning that Argentina had an advantage knowing exactly how many goals it would take to make it to the final. And one big reason of why this held so much weight is that, guess where the World Cup was being hosted? Yes, you guessed it, Argentina. Many claiming that Peru was bought out and was told to down tools to let Argentina score at least 4 or more goals in that game to allow them to make it through to the final. This is something that I again can partially believe in, as back in this time period it is not hard to believe that corruption did take place. Tell me your thoughts down below. The darkness. Australia witch doctor. In November 1969, the Socceroos travelled to Mozambique to play against what was at the time Rhodesia, or is now Zimbabwe, in a 2-part series to qualify for the 1970 World Cup in Mexico. However, in a 2-leg match, both games were draws and the third fixture was announced. The story goes that a local journalist gave the Australian team a tip and said that they can use a witch doctor to help them beat the Rhodesian team. They saw it as no harm to give it a chance. So, later that night, a Enyunga went to the pitch where the game was being played and buried some bones near the goalpost and placed a curse on the Rhodesian team. So when they did play that third game, Australia won 3-1. However, when the Enyunga asked to be paid for his services, the players were either unwilling or unable to pay, leading to the Enyunga to have a reverse curse on the Socceroos, and that lasted for 35 years. The godfather of Australian football, Johnny Warren, once spoke of the incident, claiming that from that moment, everything went wrong for the Australian national team. A countless amount of gut-wrenching losses caused the Socceroos to never qualify for a World Cup for many years. The last time was in 1974. One famous game was back in 1997 when they had a shock loss to Iran in Melbourne to fail to qualify for the 1998 World Cup. Many believing that the witch doctor's curse was still on the Australian national team, so they went out of their way to try to break the curse. So they took matters into their own hands. So the Socceroos travelled back to Mozambique, where they met a couple of Enyungas called Paulinho and Miriam, and on that very same football pitch where they beat Rhodesia in 1969 and performed a ritual to lift their heads, which included covering saffron in chicken's blood. Saffron went back to Australia and was covered in a special clay. They completed the ritual, and long behold, when Australia played against Uruguay to qualify for the 2006 World Cup, long behold, they qualified for the World Cup, beating them on penalties. This was a true curse that many people believed was actually put on the Socceroos. And you know what? God Almighty, I believe it too. The Yaya Toure curse. Just as a disclaimer, many things in this tier would be about curses more than anything else, which is still technically conspiracies, I think, because there's still no proof in it. The Yaya Toure curse, or the birthday cake curse, is one that is also very interesting. This all came when Pep Guardiola joined Manchester City, and many players, including Yaya Toure, felt like he was being disrespected by Pep Guardiola and was not being given the game time that he felt like he deserved. In 2018, Yaya Toure's agent Dimitri Silik, when speaking about Pep Guardiola, claimed that he was being unfair towards African players. As I quote, he said, "I am sure that many African shamans will not let Guardiola win the Champions League in future. It will be an African curse on Guardiola. Time will tell if I am right or not." Can potentially believe that maybe there is actually a curse on Pep Guardiola at Man City, as he has many failed attempts in some very strange circumstances to fail to win the Champions League with Manchester City. However, they have got quite a high chance of winning this year's, so can this be the year that the curse can be broken? Only time can tell. Liverpool asthma. Something that I've seen about quite a lot online, and I might as well speak about it even though I don't really believe it. But this was a belief that Liverpool was taking measures into their own hands to enhance their physical performance, and by taking drugs that were only prescribed if you had asthma to improve their physicality. In 2020, an article came out where a journalist claimed a source at the club said 22 out of the 35 players at Liverpool were asthmatic, claiming that 63% of the squad was actually asthmatic, which caused people to speak online. What would they gain by being asthmatic? Well, this was a drug, a medication called salbutamol, and has the potential to be a performance enhancer for people without asthma, as it will cause the lungs to make it easier to open up, which made it more efficient for oxygen to enter the body, creating more fuel for the muscles that can go for longer, as salbutamol is actually put in the World Anti-Doping Agency's list. Now, is there any proof that 63% of the squad is asthmatic? I don't think so. And if any of the drug was being used in their system. This one is a big conspiracy that I've seen around on social media and is very, 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 very likely complete nonsense. The St. Andrew's Curse. The curse of St. Andrews comes from a story of gypsies. In 1906, a gypsy's curse was placed on St. Andrews and Birmingham City, who were angry at being moved from their site for a new football ground. Claiming that their lack of success during their 100 years, various attempts were made to relieve the club of the curse, people claiming it to be a 100-year curse, as only 5 years later, after the curse expired, Birmingham City won a major trophy, winning the Carling Cup back in 2011. The amount of times that holy water has been spread across the pitch is incredible. In the 1990s, Barry Fry took drastic action as he urinated in all four corners of the pitch. In 1980s, Ron Saunders even ordered crucifixes to be placed on the floodlights. Do you believe a gypsy's curse was put on Birmingham City? The curse of Garabato. America de Cali is considered one of the most important teams in Colombia, behind Atlético Nacional. And although this team has glorious history in Colombia, at the South American level, the situation changes considerably, and many speak of the Garabato curse and prevents the team from winning an international cup. One of its most famous players, called Benjamin Urrea, known at the time as Garabato. In America de Cali's earlier history, it was still seen as an amateur team, and in 1948, when Colombian football became professional, many clubs had to decide to whether become a professional team or remain an amateur club, and America de Cali wanted to become a professional club. However, Garabato was against this decision. Therefore, when the club eventually became professional, Garabato was very angry and declared, "I don't care if they turn a team into a professional team, do what they want with America, but I swear to my God that they will never be champions." Something which seems quite stupid to believe could be an actual curse. However, they have had quite a lot of unfortunate events, as after 3 decades of competing in Colombian football, and it took those 3 decades for America de Cali to become the winners of Colombia, and Garabato and the club's directors actually held a mass at the stadium to put an end to the curse. However, domestically it seemed to have worked, but internationally it seemed to have failed, as America de Cali in male and female Copa Libertadores finals has reached 5 finals and lost all 5 finals, as they reached back-to-back finals, losing to Argentinos Juniors, losing to River Plate, and losing to Penarol. They reached the final again in 1996, again losing to River Plate, and the men's team has never played a Copa Libertadores final since. However, the women's team did back in 2020 and still lost, making it 5 out of 5 losses in the Copa Libertadores, which is seen as the Champions League in South American football. The Abyss. Racing Club Cat Curse. One of the most infamous curses in football history, where Argentinian club Racing Club was allegedly cursed back in 1967 by their rivals. This all comes from when they were at their peak in Argentinian football and was at a time one of the most successful Argentinian clubs. This all came from the 1967 Copa Libertadores, where Racing Club beat their rival club, Club Atlético Independiente, in a third playoff match. The story goes that when Racing Club supporters were celebrating their title, Independiente supporters broke into the home stadium of Racing and proceeded to bury 7 dead cats in the ground of their stadium, and this ritual was supposed to cast a curse on Racing Club, and as stupid as this may seem, it did end up working. Since that day, Racing Club was not the same. As each year that went by, they seemed to get worse and worse, never winning any silverware, and then got relegated to the second division in 1983. They did win a Sudamericana in 1988, however, their luck got even worse, as the same year Racing faced financial problems and resulted in Racing Club declaring bankruptcy. It was at this stage that Racing Club fans felt like the curse was actually real. So, in hopes to lift the curse, over 100,000 Racing Club fans gathered and started searching for the 7 cat bodies in the grounds of the stadium. And despite their massive number, they only ever found 6 of the 7 buried cat corpses. Therefore, fast forward almost 2 years later, to 2001, and Racing appointed a new manager, Reinaldo Melo, who immediately declared that he would not be stopped until the last cat body is found. And it went so far that they ordered to dig the entire pitch. They demolished and renovated the entire stadium to get rid of the curse, and it finally paid off as that 7 cat body was found. And guess what? That same year, Racing Club won the Argentine Primera Division for the first time since 1966. That means it took 35 years to become the winners of Argentinian football yet again. This is one of the most incredible curses in football history, and the fact that things turn good almost immediately adds a lot of weight to this. The Holy Water Scandal. One of the most famed scandals in football history. The date, 24th of June 1990, and Argentina has eliminated Brazil from the World Cup. However, this did not come without any controversy. Accusations was made that Argentinian staff spiked one of the Brazilian players with a spiked water bottle. They met in the first knockout round, where Brazilian defender Branco helped keep Diego Maradona in check. But during a pause in play, Branco drank from a water bottle handed to him by a member of Argentinian staff. He later complained that he began feeling drowsy and was unable to keep up with Maradona, who then, later in that game, completed a brilliant run to set up Claudio Caniggia for the winning goal. And Argentina eventually advanced all the way to the final, where they fell to West Germany 1-0. Maradona claimed that the water bottle Branco was given was spiked with tranquilizers. Branco threatened to sue the Argentine Football Association, however they denied any knowledge of the event. The scandal continued for 15 years, as FIFA was asked by Brazil to investigate the claim over the spiked water even further, and this infamous event spiked the animosity between Argentinian football and Brazilian football even further. The Bela Gutmann Curse. Bela Gutmann was a Hungarian footballer and coach, and was most famous for his greatest success as he took Benfica to 2 successive European Cup wins in 1961 and 1962. Benfica were one of the strongest teams in the world, with exceptional players, and were seemingly unstoppable. With this success, Bela Gutmann gathered his courage and went to the Benfica board to ask for a pay rise for bringing them 2 European Cup successes. However, the board did not think the same, and and didn't feel like he deserved it and denied him this raise. In anger and disbelief, Bela Gutmann stormed out of the club and said his final words: "Not in 100 years from now will Benfica ever be European champions." At that point, it seemed like a harmless statement from a man that was incredibly angry. However, fast forward to 1963, and Benfica were once again in the finals of the European Cup, playing against AC Milan. AC Milan won that match 2-1. 2 years later, Benfica were once again in the finals, this time playing Inter Milan, and lost again. In the 1968 European Cup, they faced Manchester United, and they lost. This has continued for all the subsequent European finals ever since, including 5 European Cup finals in 1963, 65, 68, 88 and 90, including that as well 3 UEFA Cup finals in 1983, 2013 and 2014, losing to Anderlecht, PSV, AC Milan, Chelsea and Sevilla. It is reported that when Benfica made it to the 1990 European Cup finals in Vienna, the great Eusebio went to Gutmann's grave and prayed for the curse to be lifted. However, it did not work. Alongside the Racing Club curse is by far the most infamous. Do you think Benfica has got a curse for them to never win a European trophy? Matthias Schindler. Matthias Schindler was an Austrian footballer in the 1930s and was voted the best Austrian footballer in the 20th century and was called the Paperman, known for his slim physique, making 43 appearances for Austria and scoring 26 goals. However, in 1938, when Austria was occupied by Germany during World War II, he refused to leave his homeland and also refused to represent fascist Germany. He cited his advanced age at the time and a chronic knee injury as the reason, as at the time he was 35 years of age. He ran a cafe in Vienna and supported Austrian footballers of Jewish origin who were banned from playing sports. The conspiracy comes from his cause of death, as on the 23rd of January 1939, both Schindler and his girlfriend Camilla Cascagnola were found dead at their apartment they shared in Vienna. The official verdict cited carbon monoxide poisoning as the cause, and different theories speculated that was an accident or a murder. Reasons could be due to a defective chimney, that it could be purely accidental. In a 2000s documentary screened on the BBC called Egon Ulbricht, a lifelong friend of Schindler, stated that a local official was bribed to record his death as an accident. It was also suggested that the Gestapo notably had a file on him and had kept his cafe under close surveillance. Was it an accident, or was it something sinister? So there you have it. I don't know how long this video is. I think it's definitely into the 40s, maybe even 50 minutes now at the stage. Thank you if you have made it to the end here, then you, my friend, are an absolute hero. Thank you for being here. If you did enjoy, smash a like button. Let's try to hit 4,000 likes. This one is definitely nowhere near as serious or really dark as my previous ones, because there's not too many conspiracies that is, really that dark. Just mainly about match fixing and just random nonsense that we've heard a lot in this video. Comment down below, which conspiracy do you believe in the most? There's definitely some here that's got some pretty good reasons to believe that it does exist, and there's also some curses, and we all love a good curse. Tell me your thoughts down below. Subscribe if you're new. I believe we should be almost at 340,000 subscribers by the time you see this. Almost. So smash it. Thank you. And yeah, I'll see you next time for another video. Stay safe. Bye.